Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Gwei Refuel, where I recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and today's the 13th of July, 2021. Alright everyone, let's get into it. So, actually today or tomorrow, depending on where you are, I will be doing a live stream with Justin Bram here on his YouTube channel. So the actual date is Wednesday, July 14th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, or 6 p.m. Pacific Time here. So whatever that is in your time zone, it's 11 a.m. for me in Australian Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to kind of come along and ask me questions on that, on Justin's channel, be sure to do so, and I'm really looking forward to it. I kind of had a sneak peek at the questions, and there's some good questions in there. Looking forward to answering them. So definitely go set the reminder on the video here if you want to catch that on Wednesday, July 14th. So just a bit of drama on Twitter today. So there was this DeFi Education Fund that popped up, and I hadn't really heard of this before. And some people pointed out to me that Chris Bleck was talking about this, over the last few weeks. And I don't see his tweets because I have him blocked for my own reasons. So just wanted to put that out there. This is the first time that I had heard about this. And this DeFi Education Fund doesn't have a profile picture, right? It doesn't have a website. It just has like a description that says, "We do policy and advocacy work to help DeFi flourish." And then they said on Twitter that they basically sold 500,000 uni for $10.2 million. With another 500,000 uni plan to be sold for another $10.2 million. So they've made over $20 million. And you might be wondering, okay, well, where did this uni come from? Why are they announcing this? And well, it came from the treasury, the Uniswap treasury. And the actual account belongs to this kind of post that was put here. And it was previously known as the DeFi Political Defense Fund. This was put forward by Harvard Law, who basically argues that essentially, we need to kind of come up with a way to have a DeFi education fund to educate regulators and politicians and all that about DeFi, to make sure that that we kind of have representation there. Now, I won't read out this whole thing. You can basically check this out in the YouTube description, basically what it is and why these people wanted the money and everything like that. I mean, the drama is surrounding the fact that this is quite ridiculous. They were given $20 million worth of uni for what? I mean, there's I know a few stated goals here with multi-sig holders and names and things attached to it. But, where's the transparency? What are they going to do with this money? Why do they need $20 million for this sort of stuff? What are their goals? What are their KPIs? All this sort of stuff. So there's a bit of blowback against that. And they also kind of posted a comment here that was posted on Twitter in their proposal that says that the proposal outlines that these funds are anticipated to be allocated over the next 4 to 5 years, so it won't have the same dilutive effect of selling 1 million uni all at once, which we agree would be a problem. We think it is important that the board has enough to work with so that they can react quickly to regulatory threats without being hamstrung by the long governance process for every decision they make. Well, I mean, that's gone completely out the window, right? Because they literally just sold 1 million uni, and it obviously didn't take 4 to 5 years. They've sold 1 million uni for $20 million, and where is that money going, right? Where's the transparency into this? There's none, from what I can see. Basically nothing. And if you go to the most recent kind of comments on this, just follow-up questions, is there more publicly available information, things like that. And yeah, I mean, I just think that this whole thing, I'm not an expert on this proposal or anything like that. But I just think that this whole thing is definitely very shady, I think. And the people, actually, there was some digging done by a few people. I can't remember who did it, actually. Maybe it's in the quote tweets. I don't have the tweet here. But there was digging done by a few people, and they basically found that the ones who voted for this to pass, the uni token holders that voted for this to pass, were basically insiders with large uni bags and things like that. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's in this thread here. I'm just looking for it right now. No, it's not there. But essentially, this, I guess, basically goes against what we want these DAOs to be, right? And what we want kind of DeFi funds to be. We don't want insiders just voting to give themselves money. We want more transparency than this, and that's just hasn't happened here. And I think Uniswap has come under fire a lot. People saying that the uni kind of treasury has been captured, the governance has been captured by special interest groups, and they're just doing whatever they want. They're basically just looting the treasury. And this is, a very stark example of that. $20 million has been looted out of the treasury, and for what? We don't have any insight here. We don't have much transparency. We just have this foreign proposal, which didn't really get much participation. There's not a lot of people in here. There's only a few comments. I mean, really not that much. And it was voted on by a group of insiders, and then they managed to make that amount of money for nothing, really. I mean, the way you would probably do it, or the way that I would think that you would probably do it, is that you would issue those uni tokens to this kind of like fund over time. You wouldn't do it all at once. Because you just see what happened. They just dumped it straight away, and now they have $20 million to do whatever they want with. So the way I would do it would be, well, first of all, I probably wouldn't give this group 1 million uni tokens. Especially, I wouldn't promise to give them 1 million uni tokens, especially because they haven't proven themselves at all from what I've seen. They haven't given clear guidelines of what they're actually going to be doing with clear, defined goals and kind of like updates and transparency reports and things like that. I mean, they haven't kind of like stated any of that from what I've seen. So I would start with giving them like a small kind of, I guess, grant, maybe, a few $100,000 or something like that, considering that, I guess, I know that legal costs are quite expensive and regulatory stuff is quite expensive. But generally, I wouldn't be giving them $20 million up front, but that's what's happened. And that's where the drama is stemming from. I think this is really bearish, I guess, generally, because if the Uniswap governance process has actually been captured by special interest groups, I mean, there's no stopping them from just looting the treasury even more. And we're going to have to see if that plays out. We're going to have to see where these funds go. And, I've covered how the Uniswap grants program has been giving out uni tokens to various projects within the space, building on uni, educating around uni, doing a bunch of things with Uniswap. And they got much, much, much less than this kind of fund got. So there's someone who got $30,000 for writing the new Uniswap V3 liquidity mining contracts. They only got $30,000 for that. Like, there's a brand new contracts and everything, and they got $30K for that. And they did the work. It's live. Like, I went over it the other day on the Refuel, and they only got $30K for that. But this DeFi Education Fund with limited information, with basically no transparency or little transparency, got $20 million for doing nothing. I mean, they've done nothing yet. And I know I'm being harsh here, but I just think this is mind-boggling, to be honest. And I think people should be upset about this and should be asking more questions here and things like that. So, yeah, I mean, personally, I don't follow the day-to-days of every kind of governance forum out there. But when something as kind of like, I guess, as obvious as this happens, where I think this is just like a gross kind of error on Uniswap's governance part, I just want to kind of raise awareness about this and make sure more people know about this and things like that. But yeah, I think I'm going to leave it at that for now. I just wanted to kind of quickly go over that because I think that, it's important to kind of like give some color there. And I mean, even Andre put out a poll where he says, first time I hear about the DeFi Education Fund, and somehow they got a $10 million grant, which is actually $20 million. Sense check, and there's a poll. The options are I know of them, never heard of them, and see results. 76% of people of 4,600 votes say they never heard of them, and I obviously fall into that group. And that's just crazy, right? That's absolutely crazy that this group got $20 million and like 76% of people haven't heard of them. And their name is just like completely wrong. I mean, DeFi Education Fund. I mean, they're a policy advocate group. They're a regulatory group that's trying to, or at least a legal group that's trying to kind of fight back against regulatory stuff within DeFi. I don't know if a DeFi Education Fund is the right name for that, but maybe they did change their name from like what did they change it from? I mean, they kind of were called the DeFi Political Defense Fund. So they changed their name to something more friendly, I guess. And yeah, I just thought it was a bit mind-boggling. But I'm going to keep an eye on this, see what happens going forward, see if they actually do provide updates and any transparency into where this money's going, or if they've just taken the money and gone and bought themselves Lambos or something. So on to some more positive news. Immutable announced that the Immutable X Layer 2 rollup will soon be permissionless. So you'll be able to mint 0 gas fee NFTs in minutes on their Layer 2, completely self-serve and 100% secured by Ethereum. No new smart contract blockchain configurations, no new libraries, no new programming languages. So if you're a developer, this is obviously very interesting to you. And I mean, I'm incredibly excited for Immutable X. I think that NFTs on Ethereum have obviously been the hardest hit by the higher gas fees. They've been priced out, and I'm glad that Immutable X is coming along to offer this kind of, I guess, scalable experience for people. And I guess for those who don't know, Immutable X is built on Starkware's technology, so it's sound. It's not technically a ZK rollup. It is based on Validium, which is basically an off-chain data kind of a committee that that secures the data there, but their security is still inherited from Ethereum. It's just a hybrid model, essentially. And you can read more about Validium if you just Google it. It'll, Starkware Validium, it'll come up. I'm not going to go through that now. But this is really cool because that means that basically anyone building any NFT project will be able to deploy it to the Immutable X rollup. I don't know if there's going to be like a whitelist process. I'm assuming permissionless means permissionless, or maybe there's a soft whitelist process like what Arbitrum has to weed out, I guess, like the spammy stuff because they don't want to overload the network from kind of the get-go, but we'll have to see. And I'm just kind of like scrolling through the docs here and seeing what's going on here. Oh, wait, no, Immutable X uses a ZK rollup, so they're actually calling it a ZK rollup here. I'm fairly certain they used Validium, but I'm not sure. Maybe they're using a ZK rollup instead of Validium for this. Maybe they upgraded or something like that. Or maybe I'm getting my Y's crossed here. Maybe it's something else that I'm thinking of. But not important for now. All you kind of need to know is that it's a layer 2 on Ethereum and it's working to scale NFTs. But I will definitely check on that and see exactly what the architecture is that they're using because I'm probably getting mixed up. I mean, it's actually good that I'm getting mixed up because there's just so many layer 2s out there right now that I can't keep track of them anymore, which is awesome. But anyway, I'm not going to gush too much on that one. I'll move on to the next update here. This is not really an update. This is more of an interesting thread that I came across on Twitter from Jordan Momtazi from I hope I said his surname right there, or Momtazi or something like that, from Synthetix. So he's a co-founder of Synthetix, and he basically put together this thread going through essentially what I guess you can call the Synthetix mafia. That is a bunch of people who were early Synthetix employees or worked for Synthetix or have like been part of the Synthetix ecosystem from the very early days. Because for those who don't know, Synthetix started off as Haven, which was like a stablecoin protocol back in 2017. It evolved into Synthetix, and the rest is history. But there's a bunch of projects that have actually spun out of that now. So the first of those is Quenta. Now this is I guess like a front end that's built on top of Synthetix and is aiming to, I guess, simplify the whole experience for people. That is built by people that worked at Synthetix. Thales Market is being spun out of Synthetix, and it's taking on binary options. So these are community members building this, which I think is really cool. Lyra Finance is the new options protocol. Kind of like spinning out as well, being built by someone that worked at Synthetix. And there's a bunch of other examples here. I'm not going to go through them all, but it's not just people who were part of the Synthetix team or building on it. There's also people who started new projects that are going to build on Synthetix. There's also, Kane's brother, Kieran, who's building Illuvium, which is an NFT-based project. I mean, there's different kind of like community members that were involved from early on, like Arthur 0x, who runs his own DeFi fund now. Degen Spartan. I mean, I'm sure I don't have to describe who Degen Spartan is for all of you. And there's a bunch of other people here. I mean, people from funds that were early backers and stuff like that. This is just absolutely insane, right? I didn't realize how many people had connections within the Synthetix ecosystem, but it makes sense because they've been around for a long time. They're one of the earliest DeFi projects, and they've had like a very strong community for quite a while now. So I wrote a bit more about this in the Daily Gwei newsletter today, but I basically said that this is the one major advantage that the Ethereum ecosystem has over all of the other ecosystems, in that we have 6+ years of builders essentially on Ethereum that basically have been building from the very early days and are now spinning out and building their own protocols on Ethereum. Like, as far as I know, pretty much none of these people are going and building on other chains or even thinking about it. They're building on layer 2s. Lyra, for example, is deploying to Optimism natively. I've spoken about them before. Quenta is going to be building on a layer 2 as well. I'm assuming they're going to be on Optimism because Synthetix is there and things like that. So they're all staying, keeping it in the family. That's why it's kind of like the mafia, right? Keeping it in the Ethereum mafia, the Ethereum family, and Synthetix is part of that. So, and this isn't just unique to Synthetix. It's obviously replicated across pretty much all of the projects within Ethereum. There's plenty of people who have been here from basically day one, like the really early days of 2014, 2015, and have gone on to start their own projects or join as really early members of big kind of protocols, like billion-dollar protocols, whether it be DeFi or something else. And they've been grinding away for a long time, and they have deep-rooted connections in the Ethereum ecosystem. They have a deep respect for Ethereum as a platform. They believe in the mission and everything like that. That's why they've stuck with it for so long. So I think that is a huge advantage that Ethereum has. And you can't buy that, right? Like, you can't buy and you can't teleport forward in time to get that 6 years worth of experience. You need to actually build that up yourself. And none of these Ethereum killer platforms, or whatever you want to call them, other layer 1s, have been around for very long in a capacity where people could actually build on it. A lot of people forget that you've been able to build on Ethereum since day one. Like, Ethereum had smart contracts when it first launched in 2015, July 2015. So people have been able to build from day one, whereas these other platforms like Cardano is infamous for not having smart contracts yet. They launched in 2017 their staking mechanism back then, and they still don't have smart contracts. So they haven't actually built up any developer network effect just yet. They've basically built none of that. Polkadot did their crowd sale in end of 2017. They only went live late last year with their relay chain, but they didn't go live with smart contracts yet. So and with the parachains and things like that, they're just going live now. Solana isn't very old either. It's only been out for a little while. So and they're kind of like starting from scratch as well, because they're based on Rust. They're not using Solidity and things like that. And there's plenty of other ecosystems out there that just do not have anywhere near the amount of kind of like build a network effect that Ethereum has, and Ethereum has built up over time. And at the end of the day, Ethereum has pioneered all of this stuff. Like, we pioneered DeFi, we pioneered the NFTs and DAOs, and all this other stuff that's happening on other chains originated on Ethereum. All the pioneers are still on Ethereum. There's probably some that we lost along the way, but the majority are still there. And that, to me, is the biggest strength. That is why I double down, quadruple down on Ethereum, and why I think Ethereum has already won, is because of its community and ecosystem is just so far ahead. And when you actually quantify it in time and think about how long 6 years is in the span of like crypto, you really start to see, and it really starts to illuminate kind of like how far ahead Ethereum is. And I highly recommend reading this Twitter thread just to kind of get more detail here and get more, I guess, accurate kind of view of things here. But as I said, Synthetix is only one ecosystem. There's plenty others out there. I mean, there's plenty of people that have kind of left Uniswap from being there early on. Ashley Scalp, she was at Uniswap and things like that, or at Maker, and then now she's at Uniswap. Sorry, but she's also like advising Liquidity from memory. One of the co-founders from Maker, or at least one of the early kind of developers at Maker, has created Reflexa Finance, which is building Rye. I mean, there's countless examples of this going on. I mean, Compound itself, there's still a lot of the early kind of pioneers from Compound are still there, but they're kind of like exited to community through the DAO. Now they're building other products on top of Compound, like Compound Treasury. Aave kind of the same kind of thing here. So just seeing like how people kind of bounce around and do their own thing or join other teams and things like that, they still keep it within the family. So there's still that mafia kind of stuff going on there, which I think is really cool. So yeah, I'm gonna stop it there. I know I'm gushing a little bit over Ethereum there, but I just thought it was important to kind of give context around the network effects that the Ethereum has developed, or at least has built out in the developer community. So HopProtocol is officially live. So the Hop bridge has been launched. You can now do instant USDC transfers between Ethereum, Polygon, and xDai chain using hop.exchange here, which is really, really cool. So if you click through to use Hop here, there's no dark mode just yet, but I have told them please do dark mode because light mode kills my eyes. But essentially, you can just select the network that you want to go from. So go from Ethereum mainnet, you go to Polygon. Obviously, you'll be sending USDC. Mate, well, it's not connected, so I won't do anything now. Just input what you want to do, and then you'll be able to kind of like send it over instantly. Now, for those of you who don't know how HopProtocol works, I've gone through it before on the Refuel, but basically, they have like a liquidity provider sitting in the middle that takes on the withdrawal kind of like delay for you, essentially, or the deposit delay for you, and allows you instant liquidity to your assets on whatever chain you want it on. So this is a really neat solution. This is something that I've spoken about for quite a while. I mean, I've spoken about HopProtocol, Connext, Seller Network plenty of times before, and essentially they're all kind of doing, I guess, a variation of the same thing, and that's bridging liquidity between different chains and different layer 2s. And HopProtocol has already stated that they're going to be supporting L2s like Optimism and Arbitrum. They're going to be supporting more tokens coming up as well. So, this fragmented liquidity issue that people are talking about or have been talking about for quite a while now is not an issue in my eyes. I feel like we're going to solve it before it even becomes an issue, before we even have the layer 2s live for this to become an issue. And I think that we're going to live in a multi kind of layer 2 world, and maybe even like a little bit of a multi-chain world where there's side chains and stuff feeding into Ethereum. But I've described plenty of times how I think it's going to be a power law thing where you're going to have a handful of layer 2s and side chains that take up most of the kind of like network effect, but we're going to have bridges that sit between them. So I actually do think the bridges might end up being worth a lot, if they have tokens or whatever. As I've said plenty of times, I assume every single project in this ecosystem is going to have a token. So if these bridges have tokens and these bridges take fees and everyone's moving between chains all the time, and there's just like billions and billions of dollars passing through these kind of these protocols all the time, then you can imagine that these bridges become like a very valuable part of the ecosystem and very critical infrastructure for crypto as a whole. So that's going to be interesting to watch how the market values these things as well. So Lyra has started their trading competition. So if you would like to get started here, you can go to app.lyra.finance/welcome. This competition runs for 2 weeks. The link will be in the YouTube description, of course. And you can basically switch to the Optimism network and start playing around with them with that on layer 2. Now, I actually played around with Lyra's testnet demo the other day. It is so smooth. It is so amazing. Instant transactions, basically feeless. I mean, you still have to pay a little bit of a fee because Optimism turned off their fee subsidies. But basically almost zero fees, and also incredibly fast. So I highly recommend going and trying this out. If you haven't experienced Optimism yet, this is your chance to do so. Obviously, Synthetix has been alive on Optimism for quite a while. If you're a staker, you would have experienced it, but experiencing it with a different protocol is so cool. And as I mentioned before, Lyra is an options protocol. It is kind of like spun out of the Synthetix ecosystem. It is kind of, a part of Optimism because Synthetix is on there as well. But still, I just think it's really cool to try this stuff out. So I definitely go get your tokens, get started with this. And as I said, this competition will run for 2 weeks. And there's a share of $50,000 worth of prizes and Bored Ape Yacht Club NFTs up for grabs as well. So Matthew Graham from the Index Co-op put out the June monthly report. So basically with a TLDR here, that profitability for the co-op is up, liquidity mining costs are down, units of production in circulation are up, treasury diversification is up. As I mentioned the other day, the Index Co-op sold $7.7 million of index tokens to a bunch of investors to basically diversify their treasury. Capital efficiency is up and the USDC balance is up because of that treasury diversification. I love these reports. I wish more DeFi protocols did this. I know there's a few out there doing this like Yearn Finance and things like that, but I wish more of them did this. It professionalizes the space. It allows people to kind of like keep track of what's going on with these protocols very easily, and it gives them a very polished look. So, you can read this full breakdown. It'll be linked in the YouTube description for you, of course. I'm not going to go through the whole thing now, but I just love it. It's not just like text on a kind of on a PDF or whatever. It's actually got diagrams, it's got tables, it's got pie charts, it's got all the good stuff you want to see here. And Matthew Graham in his 11 length tweet thread here basically breaks down, what's happened, what they did, all the updates, why this thing is the way it is, how the growth looks, and all this sort of stuff. So definitely go check this out. I mean, disclaimer here, I'm obviously an advisor to Set Protocol that's heavily involved with the Index Co-op, and I hold index tokens. But I hold index tokens because I'm so bullish on the Index Co-op. I mean, I've spoken about this so many times on the Refuel. I am just so bullish. They're one of the only DeFi tokens that I hold anymore is Index Co-op. I cut most of my other exposure because it's very... I've been talking about this in the Daily Gwei Discord channel before, and I actually went through a detailed answer on the AMA about this. I feel like a lot of DeFi tokens are just going to underperform ETH in the long run, so there's not many that I want to hold, but I'm making a big bet on the Index Co-op because I'm closely involved with it. I monitor it really closely, but I think they have amazing product market fit, and I think that their growth, even during downtrends, is absolutely amazing, and they're just getting started, really. I mean, it's only been around since September or something. I think we launched it when I was at Set. So it's only been not even a year yet, and the Index Co-op has amazing kind of growth going on. So yeah, that's not me telling you to go buy index tokens or whatever or anything like that, but this is one of the projects that I would be paying close attention to within DeFi, and one of those that you may not see talked about too much in the ecosystem, and maybe isn't considered a quote-unquote blue chip, but something that I think is really exciting going forward. So first things first, if you want to check this out, definitely just go read this treasury report. I think it's a really great breakdown of what's going on in the Index Co-op treasury ecosystem. So Dharma is out here teasing that they basically put a tweet out teasing and saying it would be awfully nice if someone built a fiat on-ramp directly to Optimism, Arbitrum, and Polygon. Now, yes, it would be awfully nice because I've said numerous times before that the way we get people to adopt layer 2s, there's a few different ways. One of the major ways we get people to adopt layer 2s is offering a fiat on-ramp into it so they can skip layer 1 altogether and just go straight from cash or fiat to tokens on these layer 2s. So you can imagine basically being able to buy ETH on Optimism or Arbitrum on Polygon directly using your Dharma wallet, using cash, using your USD or whatever it is that you use, and that alone is going to increase adoption exponentially, I believe. I think that, especially because Dharma's Ethereum wallet is awesome. I mean, mobile wallets are the future. I think most people are going to be using mobile wallets. I personally don't like to use mobile wallets. I'm more of a desktop wallet kind of guy, but I'm an advanced user. I'm not a normie, as they say. I'm definitely not someone who's not going to need hand holding to use this sort of stuff, but most of the world will. And the way we do that is by doing fiat on ramps, making it super dead simple for them to adopt this technology and to get access to these different apps. So it's going to be really cool to see that. And then, Anna says here, it would be awfully nice if someone built a non-US fiat on-ramp to Dharma as well, which I agree with. I can't use Dharma right now because it's US only, and I would love them to do. I mean, I'm not sure if they're going to do Australia. Maybe they'll do Europe or something like that. But I would love for them to do, non-US places, because at the end of the day, the US is already kind of like serviced quite well with crypto fiat on-ramps. I think that the Coinbase, the Krakens, and everything do a really, really great job of onboarding new people via the fiat gateway. But there's a lot of underserved parts of the world that need this. I wouldn't even call Australia underserved, or maybe much of Europe, but like South America definitely needs more kind of like fiat on-ramps from what I've seen. And parts of Asia, of course, and even parts of Europe, I would say. I just think the US is already saturated. So yeah, I would agree with Anna that we would love to see non-US fiat on-ramps being built into these things. But it's coming slowly but surely. I bet you it's coming. And I can't wait to see Dharma deploy this for these layer 2s and sidechains here. So speaking of layer 2s, Infura announced their support for Arbitrum today. So for those of you who don't know, Infura is a critical infrastructure that is required by all, EVM-compatible layer 1 blockchains or layer 2 chains, because of the fact that Infura essentially acts as a full node for you to tap into, or for your app to tap into, or whatever. Maybe you don't know this, but when you have your MetaMask wallet and you send a transaction, because you're not running a full node, it by default points to Infura. Now, you can point your MetaMask wallet to any full node. You can point it to your own full node. But by default, it points to Infura because Infura is made by consensus and MetaMask is made by consensus. You see the connection there. So whenever you're sending a transaction, you're actually relaying it via Infura as your infrastructure provider here. So you can see how critical it is. Without an infrastructure provider like this, without a full node, with having access to a full node, you can't send a transaction. You can't broadcast that to the network, because Ethereum is unfortunately not like client friendly, which we hopefully will be with ETH2, but right now it's kind of not. And that's why we need Infura on Arbitrum, and it's the same kind of deal. When you're sending transactions on Arbitrum, they're either going to be relayed by Infura or Alchemy, or even maybe Arbitrum is setting up their own kind of stuff going on there. But it's really cool to see that that this is in place. And I guess this is one of the infrastructure providers that they spoke about the other day, where they said that they needed these to be in place before they could launch mainnet. And now that it is, as I said, I'm still expecting mainnet for both Arbitrum and Optimism, at least public mainnet, I should say, to go live this month. I know I've been saying that all the time. I don't know. I don't even know what to say anymore. I'm just like following along with the updates and everything. I'm just glad that they're still making noise. I don't care if I have to wait. I'm not in too much of a hurry. But I think, yeah, we're going to see them go live soon. It's coming. It's right there, right? It's like when we were waiting for Uniswap V3. Everyone knew that it was dropping at any second, but we just didn't know exactly when. And there was so much anticipation for it. And then it happens, and everyone just moves on to the next thing. It's like, okay, when Uni V3? Oh, okay, Uni V3 dropped. Oh, okay, it's cool. Oh, okay, whatever, let's move on to the next thing. So I think that while it's frustrating waiting for things to kind of drop and waiting for things to get released, once it's done, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. I know that seems kind of obvious, but sometimes our monkey brains get confused with that and kind of like don't kind of focus on that and focus on like the short term kind of stuff here. But anyway, I'll leave it at that. I'm going to move on here because I'm running out of time. So Alchemix relaunched their alETH kind of product today with an initial cap of 2,000 alETH. That already got filled. Unfortunately, I didn't get to scoop up any. But basically, this is in response to, I guess, like the exploit that happened the other week, or the bug that was in the contract where they had to pause and disable the alETH contract. But yeah, that's back up, and I would say go check it out and go mint some alETH if you want to, but you can't because it's already reached the cap. But if everything goes well, I guess for a few days, maybe a couple of weeks here, they're going to raise that cap and you'll be able to maybe get your hands on it. And also, if you were one of the people that repaid the alETH back to the ETH back to the contract from the exploit, you can now claim your exclusive NFT, which I'm assuming is this, which is pretty cool actually. I think it's really cool to kind of like immortalize that whole thing with NFTs. So finally here, we have something that's actually really, really exciting. The Ethereum name service announced that themselves and the Ethereum Foundation are co-sponsoring a grant and a request for product to support standardizing the sign-in with Ethereum kind of tool. And I've spoken about signing with Ethereum extensively on the refuel before, so I'm not going to recap it here. There's a summary in this thread about it if you want to read this. It'll be linked in the YouTube description. But I think this is just super awesome because I would love to be able to sign in everywhere on the web using Web3, using my Ethereum wallet. I do not want to have to use a username and password for everything or two-factor authentication or anything like that for absolutely everything anymore. I would just love to be able to sign in with Ethereum, and that's exactly what people are trying to build with this. Essentially, by giving out a grant and a request for product, anyone can come along and put their hand up to build this thing. And if you do so, you can make money doing it as well. And there's also this thread from Brantley that you can view. It'll be linked as part of this thread. That'll be linked in the YouTube description. That's the original one that has basically what signing with Ethereum is, what it means, how it's going to revolutionize the web, and all that good stuff there. I'm super excited about this, keeping a close eye on it. We'll keep you guys updated. But for now, I think that's it for today's episode. So thank you everyone for listening and watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Give that video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the newsletter. Join the Discord channel. And I'll catch you all tomorrow. Thanks everyone.